senior NFL insider for ESPN. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Schefter.
Yay!
Shefty,
Hi, guys.
thank you for joining us. I know you caught the tail end of our first 15 there. Let's talk about it. The Chiefs is not the Chiefs. That is what D-Bud is saying. Is that what you're hearing from around the league? Nobody's scared of the Chiefs anymore? People don't think the Chiefs are the big bad wolf coming to town? No. Speaking of big bad wolf, that guy's sitting in a jail right now watching this Chiefs team lose one-score games. Is the Chiefs not the Chiefs anymore, Shefty?
Pat, they've won 9 straight division titles. And barring something unforeseen, they're not going to make it 10. They're just not going to be able to do that. At 5-5, with Denver sitting there right now as the number 1 seed in the AFC at 9-2, they're 4 games behind the Broncos, already having lost to them. They're behind the Chargers, having lost to them. And so they're in a situation where, look, you take a look right there. I mean, I don't know how they're going to win that division. Like, the goal right now for Kansas City is to make the playoffs, get back in the playoff picture, and then see if you go win 3 games on the road.
Yeah, we'll see what the Chiefs are able to do. Obviously, with Patrick Mahomes, it's hard to rule them out of anything, especially with Andy Reid and everybody else they have. Let's move along here to other storylines. Injuries obviously becoming part of the stories quickly for a lot of teams. Lane Johnson, obviously a staple, a pillar of that Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. Liz Frank injury is what I read on the internet, 4 to 6 weeks. What are we hearing about Lane, and what's likely future for him and the Eagles, Shefty?
Yeah, I think it's going to be challenging for him to return in the regular season. I think that the idea now will be to get him ready for the postseason, maybe the end of the regular season, but it is a 4 to 6 week injury. Suffered it last night. He's been playing through so much this year, and it seems like every week you put it on, he's fighting through, he's getting back out there, he has to leave. And this is a guy who is one of the standouts in the entire NFL, one of the best offensive tackles, but he's got Ellis Frank. The test showed that this morning, and now he's going to be out for an extended period. But it's not season-ending. That's the good part for Philadelphia.
That is great news, especially as fans of Lane Johnson. Godspeed on recovery there. Liz Frank, very annoying injury. Let's talk about people we are fans of as well. Aaron Rodgers, left wrist. Obviously, we saw him after the game whenever he was wearing a hoodie, had a little bit of a brace on. He was dapping everybody up. I believe early reports are that he was trying to get back into the game and that he wants to play against the Bears, because he does, I think he believes potentially he's their landlord, because of what he was able to do with the Packers for the Chicago Bears. Feels like a very emotional game for Aaron to play. What are we hearing as of this moment with the wrist injury for Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to want to play against the Bears, but again, he's got a slight break in that left wrist. Now, he's having more tests today, and he probably has had them by now to determine whether or not they will have to do surgery, whether they'd have to put a screw or a plate in there to figure out exactly how to treat it. I think the team does not believe that it is any kind of long-term injury. So the question now is, does he miss time? And if he does, then Mason Rudolph would obviously start against the Chicago Bears this week. I think that's certainly well within the realm of possibility, but they don't think it's a long-term injury. But today, the test should show more and exactly how they want to proceed with him.
Okay, so Aaron Rodgers, we know will want to play. He views himself as an old school player, views himself as an old school guy. If I only played when I was 100%, I wouldn't play any games. Look up the amount of games that he played. Obviously, everybody remembers the Jets injury taking place. But if you look at how he views himself as the Iron Man old school football, if he can play, he's going to play. That is kind of the way it's gone with Aaron Rodgers. We'll see if the Pittsburgh Steelers rule him out. Josh Jacobs now. Let's go to the Green Bay Packers. Knee injury. What are we hearing for Josh Jacobs? Obviously, massive piece of this Green Bay Packers offense since arrival from the Raiders.
They did test today. It was structurally sound, so that's encouraging. They're going to consider him week to week. I think it'll be challenging to have him play this week against the Vikings. But, again, they're not ready to rule him out just yet. But this is a tough guy, and he's usually out there. We'll see if he's going to be able to make it back this week. I think I'd be a little bit surprised. Emmanuel Wilson's played well, long season ahead. But he'll have a chance. They're not ready to rule him out just yet. We'll see how the week evolves. The good news for the Packers is not long-term, no surgery needed, and we'll see how soon he can make it back.
Shout out Rob Domovsky on the coverage there. Let's go down to Atlanta now. Penix seemingly out for the year is what's being chatted about. Drake London also injured. Let's start with Penix, then go to Drake London. Is it Kirk Cousins' time in Atlanta for the rest of the way here?
I do not expect Michael Penix to play again this season. He suffered a knee injury here against Carolina yesterday. He's going through tests. They did find damage with his ACL. He has obviously had, this will be, if and when he doesn't come back this season, which I would expect to be the case, this would be the 5th of 8 seasons in college and the NFL that he has been unable to finish a season due to a knee injury. And obviously the Atlanta Falcons have a lot invested in Michael Penix, limped off the field yesterday. The tests were not encouraging. It's not going to be good. I do not expect him to play again this season. And that means it's time for Kirk Cousins to step in, and this is why the Falcons have paid him. It's up to Cousins to try to save their season, and we'll see what he can do as the quarterback. But again, Michael Penix not expected to be back again this season.
In the Atlanta Falcons injury report,
week to week, I wouldn't expect him to play this week. They don't think it's serious. They don't think he's going to need surgery or anything like that. It sounds like it's a similar injury to the one that Brock Bowers had, where you need some rest sometimes before it's well. But at the very least, he'll miss this weekend. Look, now you're starting to get into an area with the Falcons. Like, they're not winning. If you're not winning and you're out of it, are you going to rush your guys back? And what's the sense in bringing back? Now, they're going to want him back, and they're going to keep fighting. But, yeah, I would think that he'll miss a little bit of time here.
Okay, the Falcons quarterback room was certainly talked about this offseason, 100 and some million, and then let's also use number 8 overall pick. Are you going to trade Kirk? Are you not going to trade Kirk? Now they're both playing. Kirk will be playing, and they're both out of it, basically, seemingly, whenever it comes to the playoffs. Let's go to another quarterback room that was certainly chatted about this offseason. Dillon Gabriel, who has been the starter for the Cleveland Browns for the last few weeks here, gets a concussion. Shedeur Sanders makes his debut with the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, it doesn't go great. Massive division game. Baltimore Ravens. Shedeur had a couple good throws, had a couple good moments, gets sacked, fumbles as well, throws a pick, some other stuff takes place. Obviously not the ideal position to be starting, but is there one of those when you're a backup quarterback? I saw obviously a lot of people learning about the way the NFL works and how backup quarterbacks don't get a lot of reps during the week. Obviously, why would we be taking any reps away from the starter when the starter is trying to win the football game? There's only so many reps we can get done. Why would we waste any on the backup quarterback? That'd be preparing for somebody to get injured, is kind of the NFL's thoughts. Now, did they know Dillon Gabriel was going to get hurt at some point? Should they have got Shedeur more reps? Maybe. Shedeur came out, handled it like a professional. Obviously, everybody is stuck up for Shedeur Sanders in this entire process. What do you think happens going forward here? Dillon Gabriel's team? Shedeur Sanders has opportunity? Like, what are your kind of thoughts on how this all plays out?
Yeah, well, you mentioned that the interesting part, which Kevin Stefanski acknowledged after the game yesterday, was that yesterday was the first time that Shedeur Sanders took a rep with the starting offense. It never happened all during training camp, all during the preseason, obviously during practice in the regular season. Those were the first reps. So as we talked about on Get Up this morning, that's the first time that the starting offensive linemen are hearing Shedeur Sanders' cadence out on the field. They don't know what it's like. They haven't been through any reps with him. And so the reps that the Browns had at the quarterback position went to Joe Flacco, they went to Kenny Pickett, they went to Dillon Gabriel, and none of them went to Shedeur Sanders, who all of a sudden found himself playing the Baltimore Ravens yesterday in the second half, having to step in and be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Now, Dillon Gabriel is in concussion protocol, and obviously most players who are there don't usually clear in a week. We're still waiting for C.J. Stroud to clear, and I think there's a real question as to whether he would go on Thursday night against Buffalo. I think there's a real possibility C.J. Stroud will miss his third straight game, and it'll be Davis Mills again on Thursday night. But Dillon Gabriel would have to pass in 1 week, and I would say the chances of that are not very likely, which would mean that Shedeur would be in line to take over as the Browns starting quarterback Sunday against the Las Vegas Raiders, and it could be Shedeur versus Geno Smith.
And that would mean Stefanski would be shaping the entire week around Shedeur Sanders, the starter, which they never do for a backup quarterback. So that is just kind of, I think, in real time, what everybody needs to know, like the reality of situation. And on that note, good luck, Shedeur. Here we go.
Good luck. I'm finally giving him a damn chance. Jeez.
I'll have you know, he had 0 reps with the ones. Well, was he the number 1 quarterback?
No.
No, but okay. Go on.
I don't have anything else.
Okay, all right. Just making sure. Now, on that note, this week, Let's go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And there's a couple moments in there, confidence,
Oh, yeah.
comfortable, arm, obviously everything we've come to see and learn and love about Shedeur. Maybe Stefanski's able to make it work. Let's stay in the AFC North, shall we? Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, Shefty, everyone's kind of said that, the Bengals are kind of circling Thanksgiving night potentially for Joe Burrow's return, but after yesterday they get killed, and then we'll see what happens with Jamar Chase. It looks like there's a chance he might get suspended next week against a tough Patriots team. Is there any chance that they decide to just keep him on ice? Because even, if they lose these next 2 weeks, what's the point of playing him on Thanksgiving?
Well, listen, I think that Thanksgiving always was going to be ambitious for him to get back by that night. I think the more realistic target date was the next week against the Buffalo Bills. But either way, the point is the same. They didn't win yesterday. They didn't beat Pittsburgh. Now Cincinnati plays again this week, and there's a real possibility that they'll be without Jamar Chase. If they don't win that game, then you go into Thanksgiving night on a 2-game losing streak, or however many games they've lost in a row here.
A bunch.
And at some point in time, you have to say, if we're not going to make the playoffs, why does it make sense to bring back Joe Burrow? Now, Joe Burrow is an athlete, and he's going to want to play, and he's worked really hard to get back. But common sense, logic, if they're not winning and they're out of the why are they bringing him back?
Well, are they going to be in the playoffs next year at any point? And then as soon as they get out of the playoffs, you're not going to play Joe Burrow? This is me, fan of Bengals, owner of Bengals, saying this. Because he's face of franchise. He is program. Now, granted, can a bigger injury take place and knock him out? For sure. But I think it's going to be a tough pill to swallow. You got a completely healthy Joey Burrow just standing on the sideline while people are paying for tickets and stuff over there in Cincinnati. I think that's going to be a tough sell. But hey, Bengals will do it.
Yeah, they certainly will do it.
Bengals will do it. And on that note, Joey B, what we're saying is you're too tough for your own good is what the world is even considering in all of that. Now let's talk about being tough. Guess who's back? Back again. Brock is back. Tell a friend. Go ahead, D-Buck.
A great game yesterday. Him and Christian McCaffrey. Did he get out of the game clean? And obviously he's the guy going forward. But what was the reports with 13 after the game?
He looked sharp. He looked great. And again, he wasn't going to play until he had movement, until they felt comfortable with him back there. And he had enough movement and obviously looked really sharp yesterday. Arizona outgained San Francisco by over 200 yards in this game. And Jacoby Brissett threw an NFL record 47 completions, the record for a regular season game. But Brock Purdy came on, was hitting George Kittle, was hitting Christian McCaffrey, throwing for touchdowns, looking like he always did. He looked surgical out there, frankly, yesterday. And when he's playing at that level, they're a tough team to beat. And he played like that yesterday, throwing passes like that all day long. And again, they're in the playoffs today. The Detroit Lions are not in the playoffs. And San Francisco is playing. San Francisco's without so many key players like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and all these great players that they've lost, and yet here they are battling and in a spot where they're competing for a playoff spot.
And they lost Brock Purdy for an extended period of time as well and still were able to win. Mac Jones did a lot for his stock, and who knows what happens down the road. Congrats to Brock coming all the way back and playing like that. We are happy for him. We thought maybe there would be a chatter for a long time, seemingly put to bed. You have about 30 seconds here, Shefty. What do we need to know about tonight, Dallas Cowboys, Las Vegas Raiders?
Well, Quinnen Williams makes his Cowboys debut tonight. DeMarne and Overshawn comes back tonight for the Dallas Cowboys. So that's two big defensive additions. But let's be honest, it's going to be an emotional night for the Dallas Cowboys. This is the first game that they're playing since they lost their teammate Marshawn Nealon. They come off the bye. It's not going to be the same without him. He's going to be on everybody's minds. They're going to be wearing a helmet decal. They'll be wearing T-shirts to honor and remember him. And I would think that the Dallas Cowboys will play an emotionally inspired game this evening.
Yeah, I think so too. And anytime that happens, obviously perspective gets put into place as well quickly. Hopefully they're able to find some positive out of it all. We appreciate the hell out of you. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Schefter.
Hey, Schefter.